Okay.
If you go into Bronx Housing Court and this is something that people maybe do once or twice in their life. They just don't have the support there, and it's a problem. So my question, though, is, I just wanted to bring that up based on the fact that there was so much landlord bashing going on. I felt obligated.
And more to come.
Okay.
You haven't heard my story yet.
Okay. So I am involved in other businesses, both of which, although the pay is not minimum wage, we stay, a percentage above minimum wage. And I've asked this question before, I've never gotten a really good answer on it, I'm just gonna have to ask it again. So the minimum wage going up to $15 an hour, which is coming fast. And I'm in the moving and storage business, and my wife owns a preschool, and we do depend on city contracts and city money for our businesses. So with the minimum wage going up, and our need to keep our employees above the minimum wage, we have to raise as the minimum wage goes up. Even if we have someone making $20 an hour, they're going to $25, $26, $28 an hour. And we're looking at what we're getting paid on these contracts going, we can't do this work anymore. Unless these contracts are going to go up as the minimum wage goes up, people are not going to be able to provide these services. So I'm just curious if there's a discussion in the Senate, in the Assembly regarding this, where is this going and what can we expect?
There certainly is, and any of the industries that are reimbursed, so you can't charge a fee of your choosing, you're regulated. There's others here tonight that face the same issues and concerns, where your revenue is linked to the state program or city program. There is going to be a reimbursement adjustment, and they're actually looking at it now. Fortunate for someone in your concern, let's hope that you get at the front end and not at the back end, where you don't have to lay it out first, and then you'll be able to recoup it later. It's also fortunate that the 15 for small businesses versus the workers, and it's a difficult balance. It's not going to happen overnight, so it's going to happen over a 3-year period for New York City residents. I'm more concerned, and I fought against this, the tier system that we have, where New York City will have a certain minimum wage, Westchester will have a different minimum wage, and further upstate has a third tier. And this is a concern for me, and for many of those that are in the borough of the Bronx, where we border Westchester County, where some of our businesses may go over to the other counties so they can pay less in the form of a minimum wage or salaries. Then your follow-up is, well, I'll use a McDonald's worker. If you're in Westchester and Yonkers, and you're bordering the borough of the Bronx, and you're on that bus, you'd stay on that bus for 2 more stops to enter the Bronx. So now you'll have more outsiders competing for the fewer jobs that we have in the borough of the Bronx, because they can make they can make more money because of the different tiers of minimum wage. And I hope you understand what I just meant.
But is it where you're doing business? If you're a trucking company in Mount Vernon and you're doing business in New York City, are you going to pay your employees?
We'll leave that to taxation and finance to figure out, but it's not going to be me. There are concerns there about
because businesses are just going to leave. I mean, obviously, it's not so hard to pick up and go. If you're a trucking business or a construction business, it's pretty easy to just move to someplace else. I mean, what will stop?
We don't want to hurt our small businesses. We want to make sure they stay viable. You're going to raise your prices, and you're going to adjust in other ways. Those that are regulated, obviously, and the source of revenue will have to be adjusted.
And you think what will they send that out in advance, saying the pay for this is going to?
Yes,
they will.
Your reimbursement rate should be reflective of the increase in wages, and you won't be left out there. Let's just hope that you get it sooner than later.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and in response to, and this is a concern for a lot of my Bronx businesses also, I've gotten phone calls from Bronx businesses saying I'm moving to Mount Vernon. And so we need to figure that part out. But for my businesses that are here, we are all about our businesses, but sometimes we leave a lot of money on the table. And so, while I was kind of kidding before about, one agency gives you and the other one takes away, fact of the matter is that your New York State Department of Taxation really and truly has a lot of information about tax credits that you guys are not taking advantage of. If you hire people from certain areas, if you hire the long-term unemployed, if you hire veterans, these are tax credits that are good for you for quite a number of years, and that's something that your accountant or your financial department should look at. And so certainly do get her business card so that you can work on that. I want to, before you're gonna ask a question? Okay, let me just, before we get to the last question, we have a number of elected officials who are here. Latoya Joyner from the Bronx, Marita Davila from Brooklyn, Jose Rivera from the Bronx, Marcos Crespo, Assemblyman Marcos Crespo, I think is already back. Assemblyman Luis Sepulveda is here. And I also wanted to recognize Assembly Member Rodney Bichot. How did I do? And she has a fabulous, well, it's not a flyer, newsletter that you need to get from her. She is on the committee for the minority and women. Oh yes, she's the chair of the MWBE committee. And fact of the matter is that if you're a minority-owned business or a woman-owned business, and many, many more are now women-owned businesses, this particular newsletter has a lot of information about resources that the state is making available to our businesses, in addition to opportunities at LaGuardia, they're under construction soon, the New York State casino projects, and what's coming up in the Bronx, which is our Metro North stations. So there's a lot of construction and development that's coming on, and certainly ask us, talk to us. If we don't know the answer, more than likely we know who to get it from. And certainly this administration and this assembly is here to be helpful and supportive, because unless we support you guys, you can't help our communities. Oh, can you come up and talk a little bit about it? Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Marlene. Thank you for the great introduction. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone on the dais. Thank you, Bronx. Bronx in the house. Hey, Bronx in the house. My name is Assembly Member Rodney Bichot, and I'm just really delighted to be here. I represent Brooklyn, okay? But that doesn't mean anything. Nobody's perfect. But as the chair of the Minority Women Business Enterprise, I service everyone throughout the whole state. And just so you know, I've heard a lot of testimonies about issues with small businesses in terms of project labor agreements, taxation, payment, and things of that nature. We collectively, these people here on the table right here, are my colleagues and Mark, who's working diligently on putting legislation together to address small business issues. If you notice in the inside of your cover, you'll see a lot of legislation pertaining to how do we get more of our resources advertised? How do we know when we have contracts available? A lot of the contracts, like the big companies, and someone mentioned Skanska, we need to make sure that everything is being published on a New York Contract Reporter so that small businesses can have an opportunity to bid as a subcontractor. I also have legislation around subcontractors in terms of payment and putting in their requisitions directly with the agencies. There's a number of things. We here at the state, we are working closely with the governor's office to make sure that we have a goal, we have a 30% goal, that the goal is everywhere, not only in the city of New York, but it's throughout the state of New York, which is an opportunity for $7 billion of procurement to grow to a $65 billion procurement. 65, that's a big opportunity So there's a lot of money out there, but you're right. We just don't know how to get access to it. Again, I just want to thank all of you for taking the time to come to this very, very important forum because we really need to sustain our small businesses. Most of our community members, residents, constituents are employed by small businesses. So if our small businesses die, then that impacts our economic rate as well as our unemployment rate. So if there's any information or question that you want, feel free to call my office. We're working with everybody at all boroughs, we're in the Bronx as well. Project labor agreement, we're working with Chairwoman Crystal Peoples-Stokes, Assemblywoman Crystal Peoples-Stokes, who's the chair of government operations. And we know there's an issue with labor. We know there's an issue, but we like labor because union is very important. But we need to find a way how small businesses can work with labor. We have some good, we have some decent project labor agreement on the city side, but we are fully aware on the state side we need some help. We're looking to have a forum around that, hopefully before the end of the session, to talk about how can we come to get a unified project labor agreement for small businesses across the state of New York. So again, thank you for giving me the time to speak, and I'll see you around. Rajinski Show.
Okay, our last question.
Thank you. My name is Raphael Schweitzer. I'm a community activist. I actually live in Mark Jones District. I would like to thank him. Though we may not agree on everything, the fact that he brings Bronx residents, businesses to Albany, I really mean this. It really brings people together, and I would like to thank Assemblyman Joy for doing this. Woohoo! My question is about small businesses. There's recently been an issue with what some people call gentrification, rents going up suddenly for small mom and pop shops. It's arose in the Kingsbridge Armory area. There were a couple of Bronx Times newspaper articles about it. Now, I realize it's a city issue in terms of taxation. Now,
Not taxation, protection.
Protection in terms of like how much and how often a landlord can raise the rent at the end of the lease. Now, I know there's New York State rent stabilization laws that apply to tenants, and most particularly, I'm staying on small businesses, more particularly, it's called the Erstadt Law, which prevents New York City from implementing any laws that are stronger than the state level. Now, when it comes to small businesses and property laws, are there any other similar laws that exist that would prevent New York City from instituting similar protections for business tenants? Because sometimes these businesses, when the lease expires and they see big development going on across the street, they're like, you know what? I can get a lot more money for this property as opposed to $2,000 for a florist shop. Let me hike it to $5,000 per month and I'll try to get in a Target or something like that. Is there anything on the state level that's preventing the city from doing this?
Okay.
Thank you, first of all, for being up here and for the kind words. What you're asking for is rent protection on businesses. And it's a form of rent control equivalent to what we have with apartments and housing. I don't see anything out there there's been issues that were brought up which are viable, but a lease is a lease. And here's what we have to understand it. And this is why it's important that you sit with someone like the SBDC. A small business opens up a storefront, not thinking 5 years out. Long-term leases will secure the rent. And the longer the term, the more stable you'll be. We live in a free market world. And it has to be a balance. But who do we protect first? Where are our priorities? And the notion of rent control for commercial tenants or businesses, for example, is a difficult one to approach Because at that point, then why not regulate the price of their products? Why should one person sell a box of nails at a higher price than a competitor? And we go into a different area that this country doesn't stand for. Free markets have worked. We know there's problems with free markets, and there's a way that a balance of protections have to be offered. But for, rent control for commercial stores sounds great until we evaluate the impact that it would have. Who's gonna bear the financial responsibility when we have issues of housing, hunger, education, seniors, medication, services? And it's a difficult, it's too expensive for it to be addressed. And then the question comes, well, why do we protect a renter versus why not the property owner? You consider I'm a small business. I own one store. I'm not a mega landlord. Now what? We're imposing a restriction on a single taxpayer to help another taxpayer. Very complicated. But city issues, not state. It won't happen statewide. The state doesn't have the same issues as New York does with raising commercial rents. They also don't have the same issues we have with real estate taxes and whatnot. It's a different caliber.
Thank you, Senator Joy. I just wanted to, just a brief comment. It was mentioned about presidential candidates who have come to the Bronx. I just wanted to put in the fact that Bernie Sanders was actually the first presidential candidate to come to the Bronx, and he held 3 different events. Just wanted to put that out there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raphael. I have an answer to that also. The Bronx hasn't been burning for decades.
It is now.
Okay, let me just, I think this is the only issue where Mark and I probably disagree a little bit, okay? With respect to the issue of commercial rents, that is an issue. And that's something that we should look at, and we should have a stronger conversation with the city administration. So, commercial. And then we can say, have a great afternoon. 2 commercials. Joe Wiskovich, the first question, represents Anheuser-Busch, one of our lead sponsors. So thank you, Anheuser-Busch. Montefiore Hospital, Health First, Sanitation Salvage, Metro Optics, Affinity. We urge you to come back at about 5 p.m. when this room will be converted into a mini Bronx. So that means great food, great music, great people to chat with. Let's continue the dialogue. And we thank you, Mark, for you being the visionary, for you being the leader that you are. And the Bronx is a better place because you're in it. And now providing closing remarks, Nunzio Del Greco, the new president of the Bronx Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
Thank you, Marlene. You know, this is my first time here at Bronx Day in Albany, and it's really an honor. I guess because it's my first time, they put me up on a dais, and they also gave me the honor of doing closing remarks. Thank you for that. I'd like to recognize Mark Jonai for the great job that he did. Let's give him a big round of applause. The Bronx Chamber of Commerce will continue to partner with our elected officials, including Senator Klein and the Hire program. That's such a great program, putting thousands of people to work, and we are going to do more workshops and seminars on the technical end to provide them with more higher paying jobs. I'd also like to acknowledge my predecessor, Lenny Caro, who's now with Mercy College, and with his departure meant that I am now the president of the chamber. Thank you, Lenny. But it's a great day. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of the program. Thank you.
Thank you. See you at 5 o'clock. Bring your dancing shoes.